My first impression of the network test, why it will fail in the West, it says. So I know very little about Blue Protocol, and I was hoping I could educate myself on it some more today because it looks pretty cute. Well, this is my first video of his I'm watching.
Blue Protocol has some
Okay, let me know if it's too loud or too quiet.
insanely massive gameplay problem, and unless Bandai Namco decide to address some of these, Blue Protocol is honestly just not in the greatest state right now. Many Japanese players are currently complaining about the exact same issues that I have also experienced in the endgame of Blue Protocol network test with.
I'm tired of goblin hunting. Forced to do a lot of work.
Even this Japanese article saying that they currently do not recommend playing Blue Protocol in its current state. In fact, you can already observe one of the first saying that they currently do not recommend playing Blue.
Unless you're an MMO inexperienced person. And an anime-style graphic supremacist. I recommend another game. Black Desert Online? Okay, so this is a person who thinks BDO is better than
Protocol in its current state.
Incredible.
In fact, you can already observe one of the first issues on the screen right now. This game is very terribly optimized, especially in town. I'm currently running a 2070 Super, and I'm getting a whopping 10 FPS. No matter where I go. This is only one of the major problems that we'll uncover in today's video. Hey, I'm Tenten, and this is a very honest review of Blue Protocol network test after playing it for a long period of time. As a RPG,
okay, so he says that was a network test, so wasn't it supposed to be not like optimized yet? They're learning. Is that right?
the Blue Protocol felt a lot more like Monster Hunter.
But it shouldn't kill your FPS. It shouldn't kill your FPS. Okay.
Compared to traditional RPG like Final Fantasy XIV Online or Lost Ark. The main gear progression in the game involved having you collecting rare material either through monsters, boss drop in the dungeons, or open world harvesting to get those rare material, and then you can craft the next level of weapon or item to advance your characters. Combat in Blue Protocol is rather straightforward. Every single class comes with a normal attack, which is your left click, an identity skill, which is your right click, and finally an ultimate ability. In addition to that, you can choose 4 skills to equip at any given moment, in addition to 2 summon, also known as a magi, to accompany you in combat, for a total of 6 ability plus an ultimate, and then your normal attack and your identity. In addition to that, you can also perform a dodge action by using the control button on your keyboard. That will perform your dodge roll, which as far as I know is an iframe. My main complaint when it comes down to Blue Protocol combat is that for the majority of the time, you're just going to be spamming your normal attack. Your 4 ability doesn't really have the sense of rotation or combo. They don't really tie into each other in any meaningful way, so you kind of just toss them out whenever they're off cooldown. But like on top of just having low interactive skills and the fact that you only have 4 skills, some of these skills just have really long cooldown. Some of the skills in the game have 55-second cooldown, your summon or your imagi generally have a minute to a minute 30-second cooldown, and finally your ultimate ability have a 200-second cooldown. The end result is that you're just going to be spamming normal attack majority of the time. How much skill expansion is there?
What? You're just going to be spamming normal attack majority of the time. But aren't there different classes where that would work differently? Oh my god, look at this face. I paused it. Holy shit. He looks like his soul is leaving his body.
Right there yet?
Oh my god.
To be fair though, I was probably playing the lowest effort class in the game. If you're playing something like Mage, then you actually have a energy meter that you have to manage, plus Mages is a lot more spammable, and if you're playing a melee class in a high level dungeon, then you have to involve a lot more by watching the enemy attack and start dodging. There's also an elemental damage system in the game which you can observe under the boss HP bar, which is currently infected with the earth status. When you eventually fill up the entire...
He says it's affected with the earth status, so it looks like an LB bar, and you want to keep hitting it with... Wait, so there's elements in this game like in Genshin?
Bar, the boss will get stagger, which allows you to get free DPS. As far as I know, there's no elemental reaction system in Blue Protocol, unlike games like Genshin Impact, and it's mostly primarily only used for debuffing the bosses. For what it's worth though, you can change your class at any time on the...
So it's just a debuff, but it's not an actual elemental reaction. Look, for me, Genshin has really spoiled me on combat, and I feel like it's set the bar fairly high because it so many things in Genshin are so good for this reason, but especially combat is good that there's so much like positive feedback loops built in to almost everything you do in the game. But combat is a perfect example of where you get a little hit of dopamine. You get a little dopium whenever you make an elemental reaction go off. Like when I see Swirl, I'm like, yeah. If I see a Vaporize, it's like, yeah. It feels good. It feels really good to do that. And also, you're constantly cycling through all your abilities. Like you can use your ultimate really often, your burst really often. And now that I've gotten so hooked on that, it's like the way I'm describing it makes it sound like I'm a junkie, but I'm kind of expecting at least that much dopium from combat now in games. Like the combat itself needs to be really fun and rewarding and fast paced, with like lots of good feeling moments in it all the time. Now that I've gotten used to it in Genshin. So I'm a little bit worried with a couple of things that he's mentioned here, saying that you're just going to be spamming your normal attack. But I haven't played it, so I can't say. I'm listening. Okay. So
same character in Blue Protocol by equipping the corresponding weapon for that class. You have to level each class separately, similar to Final Fantasy XIV, but it is possible to play every single class on the same character. So if you ever get bored of one class, you could always look to switch to a different class and try it out.
Wait, but does that mean it's really alt unfriendly like FF14? Because in F14, yeah, you can play all the jobs in one character, but it kind of means that you don't want multiple characters. Because the game is not like well suited for playing more than one character at all.
Regardless, having low involvement in combat is one of the biggest complaints I've seen on the Japanese player side, since you only get 4 ability, with some having a really long cooldown regardless of what class you're playing or what dungeon you're doing. But we
will
have
there be
a
skill
much
speed?
bigger problem to uncover with Blue Protocol, the gear progression system.
Okay.
The gear system in Blue Protocol involve your primary weapon, and then 2 summons that you can use in battle, also known as Imagi, and then finally 5 insignia, which is your armor slot. Each of these items will contribute to your battle score, which is how you progress in the game. If you play Blue Protocol normally by following the main story quest, within the first 2 hours of your gameplay, eventually you're gonna hit this church, which is your first major progression wall. When you first unlock the church dungeon by following the main story quest, it is very likely that you'll be at level 6 or level 7 with maybe 200 battle score, but the church dungeon demands you to be level 12-ish as well as a 700 battle score, which is a extreme jump from where you are at the main story quest, with no clear indication of how to actually progress in here to that point of the game. In my personal
That does seem like a really high jump.
opinion, this will be the biggest cause of Blue Protocol failure, is because many players would drop out of the game at this point, since the gear progression wall is just way too huge, even within the first 2 hours of the game. Fortunately, when the game eventually do get released on America, I will be making videos and guide on how to get past some of these major barriers. So if you're new here and you're enjoying the video, consider subscribing to not miss out on future video, and maybe also leave a like for the YouTube algorithm as well.
So you're still gonna make videos about it though when it comes out in America, telling people how to get past this obstacle, but so that means that you probably still enjoy the game. Like there's redeeming qualities about the game that make up for this kind of pain in the ass you have to go through.
Let's start off with leveling your own characters. Leveling your character in this game is extremely slow. Side quests are really tedious.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry to pause it so much, but I had an immediate question I have to ask. How is the region locking in this game? Like if you were gonna play on NA, would you be able to play with people on EU, or is it gonna be separate like in Genshin or in Final Fantasy? Does anyone know the answer to that?
But doesn't give a lot of EXP. Dungeon Run can net you a okay amount of EXP, but they're extremely long. So what is the most efficient way to get EXP? Hunting groups. You're gonna acquire majority of your EXP simply by killing monsters, and one of the most efficient way to do that is to simply find a hunting spot where there's really good mob spawn, and you just basically kill everything on site. You only have to hit the mob once in order to get credit, which gives you the drop as well as EXP, so often you'll find a bunch of players sitting at really popular spot, fighting over monsters, and just killing everything on site. In comparison, quests
Okay.
in this game feel extremely unrewarding and tedious. You often find multiple quests that ask you for the exact same thing, such as killing 20 enemy or collecting 20 flower in this zone. I can literally find 3 to 4 quests that's asking for the exact same thing, and you feel like you're doing the same shit again. This one, collect 30 material from this place, and then the next quest come back and ask, hey, can you collect 10 more at the exact same places, exact same shit, and you collect 10 more.
Oof.
Here,
That doesn't sound
30
good.
more. And you can see how this one I haven't done yet, because I already collected like 40, 50. Yeah, I already collected like 40, 50. And then this quest pop up, I'm like, hey, can you actually do the exact same shit you just did again? Go back to the same place, do the exact same thing, collect 30 more from me. And you have to do it because this gives you the recipe for whatever this insignia is. This water bottle, the world outside insignia. Right, and it just feels really chorly. It feels really chorly.
Ouch.
But leveling is actually the
I would say that FF14 kind of spoiled me on questing, both in terms of, like, obviously story. Everyone knows story is fantastic, but quests themselves are never a pain in the ass to do in Final Fantasy XIV, because they ask you to, like, okay, go get 2 nuts, and so you just walk off and you just, you know, click on 2 nuts, get your hands on 2 different nuts, and you're done with the quest. Like, they're not making you, like in World of Warcraft, run around for 45 minutes killing like 1,000 quill boar to get 50 tusks from them. The nuts are just lying around for you to grab in FF14.
easy part of the progression. Obtaining new gear that will increase your battle score is the real difficulty when it comes down to the game. Obtaining rare material and crafting newer and better gear is the way you progress your gear in Blue Protocol, and these could be extremely tedious to get. Some of these rare material might come from few bosses that spawn after a certain amount of random interval, and you just gotta be there when it does spawn and hope they're on.
Wait a minute, I just realized something. So, if there's a huge grind to get to the first dungeon, and it's mysterious how you need to get from there to there, isn't this game free to play? Like, won't there be some experience boosts? Like, won't you have to pay to increase the rate at which you're getting experience? That's probably... Are they, like, making stuff harder on purpose to incentivize people to spend money? That's the question. Of course they will. Of course they will. Like, make the baseline experience worse so people feel like they have to spend the money. Thankfully, that's, by the way, a pretty good thing about Genshin. Genshin doesn't do that. It really doesn't. Genshin, I don't need to sit here and talk about Genshin all the time, but it's Lost Ark all over again. I mean, I got burnt out on questing in Lost Ark. I gave it a maybe too honest shot because I read every quest, which people did not recommend I do. Create the problem and sell the solution.
A lot of people there as well to kill these bosses because they do take a long time to kill. Other time, it would just ask for rare material that drop from regular monsters. In this case on the screen, I'm looking for 3 goblins' hair. These material have extremely low drop rate, which is again why you see hunting groups just going around.
They look kind of... Don't they look kind of... Those monsters look a little bit familiar.
And hitting every single monsters.
Where have I seen them before?
Because everybody is looking for these kind of rare material, and of course you need.
Oh, they're like lizards, though.
Multiple of them. These drop are actually by name as well, meaning that you have to hit the right goblin at the right place to get the right drop. Other goblins, such as Elderly Goblin, which is the red goblin on the screen, does not actually count. It drops a different material, and it doesn't contribute to whatever you're crafting.
What?
At the very least, when you're hunting for a rare monster drop, you're still somewhat playing the game and you're still getting EXP, so you're progressing in some kind of way. The main problem of Blue Protocol is the harvesting RNG. Other than asking for rare material from either
RNG.
bosses or few monsters, it could also ask for rare material from pure harvesting. And the way you get these rare harvesting material is simply by running across the entire map, collecting every single node you see across, and praying at every single one of them that it is gonna drop the one you need with, and again, an extremely low drop chance. You see all these nodes in front of me, right? These are like...
But you're doing the work by running around and clicking all that. Why would they put RNG on the node? You went all the way over there and clicked on it. You should get it.
Resource harvest spot. And
is that for every single resource? Is it just for like super rare ones though? Because sometimes there'll be a super rare drop, but you don't need so many. That sounds really terrible. Complain all you want about harvesting plant and Genshin, but at least is 100% you get what you collect. Listen, I remember when I was playing World of Warcraft and they added this shit where instead of picking up the flower and you get the flower, when you click on the flower, instead you get like a little fucking leaf. And you need to put 10 leaves together to get the flower. This pissed people off so fucking much. It was so annoying. And everybody was screaming about it. This is like that. Yeah, I remember like instead of getting the whole flower, you just get like a little petal. You need to collect 10 and then that will be a full one.
Basically, like you just have to go through each one of them and harvest every single one of them, and each one of them has like a 1% chance of being the grass you need, and then you need like 10 of them. So you end up just running around the entire map gathering grass. That is the entire game of Brew Protocol, bro.
Oh,
The low drop rate on rare material is by far the #1 biggest complaint when it comes down to the Brew Protocol network test, especially considering that these nodes are really spread apart and they respawn really slowly, making your entire experience just running across the entire map and collecting grass. Because of the way the gear progression work in this game, it is almost mandatory that you do this and just start collecting.
But why do they think MMO players would like to spend all their time touching grass? That doesn't make sense. We're not built for that. Not made for that.
Grass at some point of the game. This is because in order for you to vertically advance your character, you must first advance your character horizontally. In order for you to obtain the next tier of weapon in the game, right? You have to craft it. Say for example, the level 10 thunder weapon, you have to obtain a bunch of rare material through the same process, but most importantly, beat the corresponding dungeon, in this case the 270 battle score dungeon, to obtain the boss material drop. But in order for you to get from 200 battle score to 270 battle score, you have to advance your character horizontally by improving your Imagi or improving your insignia. The game kind of guides you through how to obtain each one of them through the adventure book, and by completing the adventure book, it is most likely that you have the material to craft the next level of the insignia or even give you the recipe. But again, each one of these quests are extremely tedious and involve asking you to, say, collect a bunch of rare material, and you end up just going around and harvesting and doing the exact same thing over and over.
Quick question. I think earlier someone in the chat said that this content creator at 1010 focuses on gacha games and like does a ton of these types of games. Is that true? Like that's his focus on his channel. So for him to say that these grinding systems are tedious is probably saying a lot. You said no, Genshin and MMOs. Okay, so he does theory crafting for Genshin. You've only seen him cover Genshin. Oh, okay. Focusing on Genshin.
Overall, it feels like you're just doing a bunch of meaningless shit, especially with how low the drop rate is, to have a chance to progress your character. Keep in mind that until you get the next weapon, your character doesn't really do more damage, so you might be fighting harder and harder enemy to get those rare drop, but your character doesn't do more damage to help you kill them. I'll make a separate video diving deeper into the huge progression wall problem with Brew Protocol, but in my very honest personal opinion, this, combined with the fact that you're just grinding against low drop rate, will be the #1 cause of Brew Protocol failing ultimately. I honestly think Blue Protocol would be a game with really high potential. The world looked really amazing, the aesthetic looked really cool, and the end game, while it is simple, does get the job done. It'll be a really cool friend to play with your friends.
The world is
and I
pretty.
still plan on making
Characters
content
look
on
good.
this game in the futures. So again, stay tuned. Alright, hold on. Future me
Wait.
here. As I was approaching the end of editing this video, looked like the director has already made comment about some of these issues that I talked about in this video.
Oh.
And of course, many player feedback as well. So that's how you know it was legit. Many player was complaining the same thing that I was complaining in this video, right?
Oh,
so
okay.
noticeably here, he say, personally, I definitely want to improve the adventure board, which is really repetitive, the drop rate, which is one of the biggest complaint I have throughout the video, and the gathering aspect of Blue Protocol, or like to call touch grass aspect. So
Okay.
now you know that every single thing that I complained about was legit and it was definitely a issues. But unfortunately, they're looking to address it. Originally, I was gonna make a segment here about how if they don't address it, then Blue Protocol will fail because people don't really like that amount of grind. But it looked like they're already looking into it, so maybe we're safe. Anyway, yeah.
Okay, so he said, wants to improve the adventure board drop rates, gathering stuff, battle score not being affected by item level sync is a wrong setting or rather wrong formula. We'll definitely fix that. We're progressing by separating into things that definitely have to be resolved at release and things that can be fixed with further updates. So that sounds really good that they are listening and are, I guess, trying to rush to get as many things fixed as possible before. I mean, I guess in a worst case scenario, if it's if a lot of these systems are still terrible at launch, people will scream and cry and complain about it until they fix it maybe a couple months later. So
Already looking into it,
this
so
is just gives me a little hopium though.
maybe we're safe. Anyway,
A
yeah.
little hopium from
This
it.
video only briefly covered the problem with the progression system as well as the combat system, and doesn't really show a lot of the other stuff that Blue Protocol has to offer. And so if you'd like me to showcase those as well, let me know it in the comment below. But I feel like this is definitely one of the biggest and the most important thing to talk about, since these are things that nobody else has been talking about, as you don't really observe these in the trailers or in the gameplay footage that they provide to you and stuff like that. So yeah. That is pretty much it for this video, and as always, if you're enjoying the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all next time.
So, really good video. Of course, I didn't know anything about Blue Protocol before watching this, but I am kind of concerned about how grindy and tedious it sounds like it might be. Leveling being extremely slow, because with any MMO, probably the most important thing that they really, really need to focus on is keeping new players. Keeping new players. The player retention for new players is absolutely essential to the lifeblood of any MMO. And if they can't get that right, it's going to be dead in the water, no matter what. New players are easily bored. They fall off really quickly. Like if this is still like how it is on launch, with this first dungeon requiring way more experience and stuff than you have by that point naturally, I think it's going to be a very serious problem for the game. So I'm a little concerned about that, and I hope that they were serious when they said they're going to address it and fix it. Grinds kill new player retention. Yeah, like a grind, maybe a veteran player who's already sunk a lot of time into the game, they might be willing to do it. But a new player will just bounce, and that's sad. You said, to be honest, Blue Protocol will fail in NAU. Also, thanks to mismanagement of Amazon. Whenever they touch something, it's never going. But what about? See, the problem is with getting experience and getting your basic weapons and stuff taking too long. I feel like there's a time and a place for grinds, and the time and the place for that is usually end game, way after people have the sunk cost into the game. Unless they, I don't know, like unless they will have simp to win like Genshin does. Maybe there's gonna be some characters in it that you're gonna be no, because you don't have them in your team like you do in Genshin. So I can't imagine a situation in which there would be a character who's so sexy in Blue Protocol that you would want to spend money on it just for that reason alone.